South Africa's athletes continue to fly the country's flag at the All Africa Games. Now, one of those who have impressed is Quenet, who won gold in the men's triathlon. He joins us now to talk to us about that experience. Nick, a very good evening to you, and I guess congratulations are in order.
Thanks, Kwena. Thanks a lot.
How was the experience in Ghana, Accra to be specific, at the All Africa Games?
Yeah, so I just landed back from Accra now, but yeah, I went through on Tuesday, and the village was really nice. Very hot and humid conditions that we had to deal with, but all the athletes were in the same boat. So it was really nice to be part of Team South Africa. There's a good camaraderie and spirit in the village.
And what was the level of competition like? I mean, just looking at how you won that gold, it was a bit of a two-man race, but eventually you managed just to do enough to snatch that gold.
Yeah, so obviously any continental championships is a big race, and especially with Olympic points up for offers. Yeah, it was a really big race, and I managed to get away with the Moroccan from the swim, and we worked really well on the bike together. But my legs were feeling really good on the run, and I decided to make my move then and didn't look back.
But talk to me about that. And I always find it fascinating because on the bike it was almost like, yes, there was a competition, but you and Siwani were almost working together. How does that work?
Yeah, so you know, we race draft legal racing, so you may sit behind each other's wheels on the bike, which does conserve about 30% energy. So we decided, you know, like, in order to make sure that we get onto the podium, we work together and ensure that the chasers behind us don't catch up. So, you know, we shared the effort and the workload, and it paid off for us as we kept the gap. We actually grew the gap leading into the run.
Let's talk about just the importance of this gold medal for you, and especially because I think the big thing is Paris Olympics. How important was it for you to back this gold, not only for Team South Africa, but for Nick?
Yeah, so obviously that was a massive milestone for myself. 2 weeks ago, I won the South African Sprint Championship title. So heading into this one, I've always wanted to be a continental champion as well. So firstly, that was a big one. But being in the 2024 Olympic year with Olympic points, like I said, on offer, it does really up my rankings and really gives me a good shot at getting to Paris.
Talk to us about just preparing for a triathlon. I mean, what does it take? Because, I mean, there's the swimming, there's the bike riding, and there's also the running. What does it take for one to prepare adequately for a triathlon?
Yeah, so I'm a full-time professional. It's a full-time job to training for those three disciplines. I probably get about 2 weeks of break during the year. The rest of the time I'm training or traveling. Yeah, so it's about 30 hours of training a week. That's excluding any recovery, physiotherapy, dietitians. So yeah, it's a big workload, and the rewards are very few. But when you do get something like this, and the good days do come around, it makes it all worthwhile.
You're training and based in the United States. How does that help you in really just upping your level of competition, especially for events like this?
Yeah, so obviously training in the States does make a big difference. I've got access to sponsorships that I wouldn't have if I was in South Africa. I've got access to amazing training facilities. Obviously, I leave South Africa in our winter and experience summer there, so my training days are much longer as well. And yeah, you know, I am a local boy and I love South Africa, but in order to reach my full potential and to be able to get into the big races that do take place in the States, that's where I have to be. So I did make that move about a year and a half ago, and I think it's been very positive for my career going forward.
Let's take a few steps back, Nick, and talk about how you got into to be a professional athlete. Because, I mean, understandably, you're an accountant.
Yeah, so I mean, most people wouldn't believe me to say that I'm actually accountant, and then I do triathlon on the side. But yeah, I went to Stellenbosch University and did my degree, my undergrad, and my postgrad honors. And then I actually started working and did my chartered accounting articles. But yeah, you know, like, I've always had that ambition to go professional. but I've always wanted to not only rely on my professional career as an athlete. So I thought it was important that I needed to get my degrees in line first. So, but right now I'm fully professional in triathlon, and I'm pouring my heart and soul into it. But one day the corporate office will be waiting for me. So yeah.
Well, I'm sure will have enough space to hang all the gold medals you'll be collecting throughout your career, and hopefully an Olympic medal along that bunch also. But I want to talk about just you as an athlete, because I mean, from a younger age, you've always been quite sporty. I think you played hockey, you did swimming. How did you just go into a triathlon, and what was that change like to focus specifically on this 3-tier sport, if I can call it that?
Yeah, so yeah, I did play team sport. That's correct, in my primary and high school days, and I was always a competitive swimmer. I was actually just a pure swimmer, but I always ran on the side. It was a natural progression. My dad was a South African triathlete himself, so that is always at the back of my mind, as you know, most boys' dads are their heroes. So I made that switch at about 17. So the cycling was a new addition to me, but you know, coming from a swimming background and always running on the side, it came quite naturally. However, the workload and the training hours definitely increased compared to, you know, a singular sport.
You did say when we started this conversation that Paris 2024 is the ultimate goal for this season. What's the next step in achieving that, Nick?
Yeah, so I'm actually off to Namibia on Wednesday. We are racing Swakopmund on Saturday, which is another qualification criteria for our South African Federation, and then 2 weeks later I've got my last qualification race, and then it's up to the selectors to see if you put your name forward. So after that I'll be off to the States, but I'll be racing more races, but those are the qualification races for Paris, as our qualification period window ends at the end of May. So that's the goal now, to get qualified.
How much would you say then the gold medal from Accra has helped in just advancing you to the next level, but also boosting that confidence going into Swakopmund and beyond?
Yeah, so it's obviously always nice to get on a podium, even more so when you do win. For me, it was a big milestone, as I said personally, but I can only hope that it really put my efforts and like how serious I am about trying to qualify for Paris, to my federation, to my sponsors, and to those outside looking in. And it was a big goal for mine, and I'm really happy to have achieved it. And the way I achieved it as well was really satisfying for myself and my coach. So yeah.
And just finally, then, I mean, if anything, what would you say has been or is a challenge as you try and get this qualification for Paris, and also as a professional athlete just trying to make it to the biggest stage of competitive sport?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, we have about 2 weeks in the year of actual recovery away from the sport. So, it's always a tightrope trying to juggle high intensity sport and not getting injured, not getting sick, and you throw in a lot of travel with that as well, time zone changes. It sounds like a glamorous lifestyle, but I spend a lot of my times alone in hotels and airports, and it is a lot of hard work, and sometimes those dreams don't get realized, but when they do get realized, you can look back and really appreciate the journey that you've taken to get there. So that's what keeps me going at the moment. I'm really hungry to get to Paris. And at the moment, things are falling into place, so I can only hope for more of that to come in the future.
Nick, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us.